You're a funny dude, Mello.
What you talking about?
I mean, one minute you want some old schooling the youth, non-violent Martin Luther King shit, and then the next minute you grabbing a gun out the glove compartment, running to the V with a garbage bag. It's like you contradicting yourself. I mean, who are you? Martin or Malcolm, dude?
Both. I ain't never violate nobody who ain't have it coming. Homie asked for that shit right there.
Oh, so homie asked to die, huh?
Yes.
So you God now?
I ain't saying all of that, but like, look, you got God and you got the devil. We living on earth with the free will to choose whose side we want to be on. So if you out here running around promoting hate, racism, calling black people monkeys, then you making it clear whose side you on. I mean, like God soldiers and the devil soldiers cannot peacefully coexist. There's gonna always be war. And when there's war, there's death.
So you want the God soldiers?
I'm just playing my position. Like you said it yourself. I mean, I'm out here promoting nonviolence, schooling the youth, Martin Luther King shit. I feel like I made the world a better place, man. You know what I mean? Like the world is much better without people like that. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. You know what I mean? On another note, I appreciate you coming out, holding me down too. You know what I mean?
Whatever, dude. If I knew it was a gun in the car, I wouldn't have rolled with you.
Yes, you would have.
Yeah.
You see, what Mello's character embodies is moral ambiguity. It's like you preach righteousness, but you practice darkness, or you practice wickedness. And we understand in the scriptures, when it comes to how it says thou shalt not kill, it also gives you the understanding of you shouldn't kill without a just cause. When it comes to, it's saying, there's a time to kill and a time to do this in the book of Ecclesiastes, I believe. So we understand that there's justifications for certain actions that may be deemed wicked, but for the most part, it's not reflective in this. Boom P's character, Mello, he plays, that aspect of, like I said, moral ambiguity, the yin and the yang. He even, in the show, there's an episode where he's wearing the shirt because that embodies his character. It's like that contradictory aspect. And I felt like it was fitting that you had this scene in the first episode because it's like an introduction into Mello, that yin and the yang. Yeah, you righteous, you preach that, but you also a killer. You also, you used to rob people, this and that. There's even an episode where the person, his cousin, Maine, the one that he kind of like, he's like a supervisor over, or more so like a mentor, or just someone, who's there for him. He even Maine tells him, hey, you used to clap shit up out here, robbing shit, killing shit. While Mello is trying to school him on like doing better and not getting into that type of lifestyle. So it's like that energy that exudes from you is what can be contaminated by other people. And, they start to do the certain things that you do, the same things that you do. So, this character Mello is reflective of moral ambiguity. And it's something that a lot of people have issues with. It kind of, goes hand in hand with James 1:8, where it's like the instability of a man, so it's something that's like, you see this a lot with a lot of people that try to do good, but, their actions show otherwise, something that people face and battle. So I felt like he did a great job of pretty much embodying that. And he even touches on this just when it comes to how he says like 90% of his character is reflective of his real life. And so, it makes sense why, he probably had certain issues that were deeper than what people may understand and what ultimately led to his death. So rest in peace to him. So before I get into this scene, I just wanted to touch on the Mello aspect even further. We already understand Mello, or Boom P. He's the creator of the show. He's the one that, he signs off on everything that's a part of the show. He allows everything that's a part of the show. So you see a lot of homosexuality in the show. I ain't gonna say a lot, but there's a bit of that in the show. There's a good amount of it on the show. The homosexual aspect, the transgender, cross-dressing aspect. You see a lot of that on the show. And you see a lot of defending just when it comes to, certain aspects of society that's reflective in this show, where you have a person that may not agree with that type of practice. And Mello's character is the one that tries to defend it and say, well, that's wrong, this and that. So when Mello says he talks about how you have God soldiers and you have the devil soldiers. We already understand the Most High detests that. He detests homosexuality and transgenderism and all those things. So obviously that's not of the Most High. That's of the devil, or just in simplistic terms, that's of the devil. I don't necessarily like to lay it out like that, like God versus the devil, because the Most High has no peers. But that is of what's contrary to the Heavenly Father. And that's what people usually, that's the point that people try to make pretty much. Is they're just saying that, the devil is something that's used to be contrary to the Most High. They don't really understand the position of the devil or what the devil really means. The devil just means deceiver. So, I understand what they're getting at with that sentiment. But yes, the soldiers, when it comes to God's soldiers and the devil's soldiers, those people, they lay on the other side. They're not on the side of God. So it's kind of contradictory. It's kind of like, it's kind of a catch-22 just when it comes to that aspect of what he laid out. The guy that he's talking to, when it comes to when they were sitting at the table, that's his friend, and his friend has a gay brother. And, there's an episode where he says that, I wouldn't kill my son if he's gay, but he's dead in my eyes. And Mello, he didn't like that. He was against that. But Mello plays this position of, trying to be righteous as well as pushing the wickedness. So it goes further into that, So he pretty much, it's pretty much to prove the point of him embodying the moral ambiguity. Like it speaks more to that, especially when you see the push of all these, these themes that's contrary to the Heavenly Father, even the Luciferian aspect of the color schemes with the red, black, and white. You see that a lot on the show, the red, black, and white.
Niggas is sick, so.
Yo, what you saying? Ian in that game the other day, man?
I ain't even watched that shit, so.
Ian, he tore Gersh up, man.
Look.
Yo.
Nigga Goldust wildin'. Nigga got a poo-poo shots in him.
Yo.
What's good, son?
Yo, look. Boy, this shit getting crazy.
What the fuck is that?
All in the hood with this stupid shit.
Fucking faggots, man. Tired of this shit, man. These niggas walking around like fucking broads, dude.
Smack the shit out that nigga.
Man.
Pass me that bottle,
Yo,
bro.
bust that nigga in his head with that shit.
Is there a problem?
It's a problem. Fucking with a die, nigga. You know it's a fucking problem. You ain't no fucking girl, boy. What the fuck is you talking about, man?
Alright, whatever. Silly shit. Whatever. I don't want to see that shit around
Crazy.
here.
You wanna fucking die? You gonna hate this?
Fuck you.
Exactly like that shit funny, boy. I'm about to validate, boy. What you said? Say that shit again. Say that shit again. Say that shit again.
I get by.
Oh shit, Kareem, what up?
Don't what up me, nigga. What's good?
Yo, that shit that happened that day was a mistake, bro.
You pulled the trigger, right?
Yeah, that shit was an accident. I wasn't trying to shoot you.
Yeah, well, you did, nigga.
So if you was never fucking me, that shit would have never went off.
Man gave you that shit?
Nah.
So why you was walking around with that hammer, nigga?
I been had that shit. I just felt like carrying it on me that day. I don't got it right now, though. You got it?
I ain't got shit, nigga.
Son, I ain't got nothing.
You lucky, boy. You lucky.
So with that initial scene there, you see how it's highlighting this aspect of the heterosexual male being like this oppressor, like this demonizing of the heterosexual male and how it's played out. You can see it. Now we understand that what he did on the surface, on the outset, was wrong. Like, you shouldn't be doing things like that. But they try to highlight these things to demonize the heterosexual male. That's what that's about. Where it's like, this is what you see and this is what's regular. Even though you have many different aspects of certain homosexuals or certain cross-dressing confused males where they provoke heterosexuals or they impose that nonsense on heterosexuals. But for the most part, in terms of what we see when it comes to what's conveyed, you always see this aspect of the gay person being oppressed by the heterosexual person. It's the same thing you saw on Moonlight. So they push these type of motifs just to reinforce certain agendas. That's what it's all about. In Boom P, he was someone who definitely was a Luciferian because he has all these different type of imagery and motifs that pretty much coincide with the understanding. The black, red, and white theme, which is constant on the show, especially on the latter episodes where, they was getting more views and it was becoming more popular. you started to see the black, red, and white a lot. And it's funny because, you know, you see this scene right here. This scene is after the initial scene with the, you know, the cross-dresser being quote unquote oppressed or bullied. And you see the color scheme right here, black, white, and red. Black, white, and red goes back to the Greek idol known as Pan. Pan was the god of fertility, homosexuality, pederasty, so on and so forth. It's also in association with the Bacchus. Bacchus, Pan is pretty much the same entity. Black, white, and red represents the Bacchus as well as Pan. And, you know, those quote unquote idols or gods per se, they represent fertility, homosexuality, sexuality in general, you know, revelry. That's what it represents. So the black, white, and red, you constantly see that. And not only does it represent that, it also represents the black mass in death. Black, white, and red represents death in general. So like when you see certain people on this show, you know, they wear certain color schemes for a reason. It's supposed to signify, you know, the character and what's supposed to happen with the character in terms of, you know, their fate.
So what the hell happened? Some asshole had a problem with my appearance. One thing led to another. We exchanged words and here I am.
Yo, that's some bullshit. Did it happen around here?
No, I was on my way to a friend's house.
Did you call the police?
Yeah, I filed a police report.
That's crazy. Were there any witnesses around?
Yeah, there were people there, but you know how it is. Just another trainee getting beat up. Nobody cares.
Don't say that.
It's true. Honestly, nobody cares.
I care.
I don't know how you do it.
Do what?
You being yourself in society with society judging you for who you are. Are you in a relationship?
Yeah, I have a boyfriend, but it's complicated.
Yeah, I can see how it's complicated. Not being able to hold hands in public or show affection without somebody staring or ridiculing you.
Things like that don't really bother me. My situation is way more complicated.
Are you okay?
I'll be fine, you know, but I came over here to make sure that you was okay.
I'm cool. I just wish I could have made your book signing.
There's a few more got coming up in New York.
Cool. I'll make sure I make the next one.
Alright, cool.
Thanks for stopping by and checking on me.
Nah, it's no problem. You know, we've been fighting this battle since we was kids, and I ain't tired yet. But I gotta get ready to get up out of here, because I gotta go to a meeting at work.
Alright, thanks for stopping by.
Boy, look at that goddamn Adam's apple, man. It's fucking crazy. But I wanted to talk about where it panned to on his shirt, Nirvana. Nirvana means being in this like transcendent state where you're not yourself and you're free from any sort of cycle of karma or rebirth or death. Represents being in some sort of like blissful state. You know, it's kind of like that element of, you know, disassociating. And you're in this joy or paradise of what you wish to be, but you're not yourself. And, you know, it pretty much encapsulates or it plays into what we see when it comes to the agenda behind this character arc or this character. As far as like the cross-dresser or the tranny or the homosexual, you know, he says how, you know, society judges you for who you are. Society is judging you for who you're not. That's what they're judging you off of. And that's all instinctual. That's all natural, man. We judge because we understand that we have things that's for us and not for us. We have things that we tolerate and that we don't tolerate. It's okay to judge. We do it naturally. It's just that there's a connotation on it because certain people want to get away with certain things and, you know, allow people to be okay with it. And certain people are just not going to be okay with it. It's not like that. It's just the reality of the situation. But this is something they always push when it comes to that type of rhetoric of, oh, society judging you for who you are. It's like, bro, stop the delusion. You don't even make any sense. But yeah, the black and white with the nirvana all comes together when it comes to the understanding of what nirvana means. We're in this state of pretty much, you know, delusion, if you will. Obviously, we understand the actual definition, but that also plays into the delusional aspect. It's like you're in this this disassociative state where you believe that this is who you are other than what you actually are. You know, you're not yourself. It also goes back to Buddhism. It's called like the moksha, I believe. And Also, when it comes to the pyramid before the scene, like the pyramid that you saw before the scene was purposeful. Everything when it comes to what they pan to and show is all purposeful. We already know that the pyramid goes back to ancient Egypt and it represents, you know, the understanding as far as ancient Kemet, what they upheld, the practices, so on and so forth. We already understand Hamites and the Cushites and the things that they did. We already understand him and what he did with his father. He adulterated his own father. So, you know, you actually have to put things in proper context. The pyramid going back to that, as well as the pyramid representing the alchemical symbol for the male, which is associated with fire, as well as enlightenment. And this was kind of like an enlightened type of, you know, dynamic going on, where it's like, you know, let me explain why these things are wrong in terms of it's why it shouldn't be okay for people to judge people for quote unquote who they are. You know how they try to, you know, act as if they're holier than thou. Like that's the type of element that plays out, you know. Isaiah 29 and verse 16. Surely a turnings of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? Right? Like, he ain't know what he was doing. This is me. This is really me. You see, what this verse, the sentiment of this verse is pushing is the understanding that man conceptualized society, which is contrary to the natural elements of how the Most High framed it, how the Most High created it. How did he conceptualize society just over time when it comes to all these things that have been created that people adhere to? Even when it comes to the days of the weeks, those are all concepts. Those are all man's creations, turning of things upside down, going into the pagan aspect, which is contrary to the Heavenly Father, as far as the days of the weeks: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Moon Day, Tyre's Day, Woden's Day, Thor's Day, Frigga's Day, Saturn's Day, Sun God Day, Horus, the day of Horus. That's what all that goes back to. It's all conceptual. You know, even when it comes to the months, it's all conceptual. And even further, just when it comes to the conceptualizing of human beings in regards to homosexuality and transgenderism and lesbianism, you know, you don't see any of these terms in the scriptures. And it's a reason why, because man conceptualized human beings. Man conceptualized this aspect, this society, this world, you know, and nothing produces from it for the most part. We already understand you can't produce. When two men come together, they can't produce. Two women come together, they can't produce, right? So we have to understand the sentiment just when it comes to the scriptures and what it's going into. Surely a turnings of things upside down. Everything is upside down when it comes to what's right and what's wrong, for the most part. For the most part. And that's what the sentiment of the scripture is. We already understand that the power structure is where it all comes from, you know. Even when you sign, you know, you do an application, you fill out an application, even with the genders, it's like you have cisgender and all these weird terms. That's the turning of things upside down, the conceptualizing of society where it's contrary to the natural elements, the natural way, the authentic aspect. You know, you go back to gay marriage. All these things is based in pushing a concept of a society. Is pretty much, you know, the furtherance of conceptualizing this world. Artificial intelligence, for the most part. This world is very, very artificial. You know, we don't really embrace nature as much as we used to. We've been broken down. Even when it comes to our people, like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that, but our people aren't supposed to be embracing homosexuality. We're not supposed to be embracing that. That's how you know we've been broken down heavily, right? So it's very important for us to understand the sentiment just when it comes to what it's getting into. And I'm sure most of you brothers, you already understand what it's getting into. You know, and this is kind of like an allusion to Isaiah 5 and 20 as well. And also where it says it shall be esteemed as the potter's clay, it's just talking about how it should come to naught. You know, it's going to come to a stop. Destruction is imminent. We already know Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And also what's funny is at the end of this verse where it says, Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? It reminds me of like these transgenders where they say, you know, this is who I am. This is who I'm supposed to be. You know, I'm embracing who I truly am. This is who you are. It's like, yo, like you were born the opposite of what you believe you are. So how is that truly who you are? Like, yo, it's just mind boggling. The things that these people push, man, it's so confusing. It's so crazy. That's how you know this is really Babylon. This is Babylon, man. You know, they always say, oh, you know, this is who I am. So it's like that aspect of connecting with, he had no understanding. Like it connects with that. Oh, you know, he had no understanding. He didn't know what he was doing. This is who I am. That's what they push. They pretty much, you know, they rebel. It's like a rebellion against the Most High. They rebel. That's what that is. You know, it's like F God. This is what I am. That's pretty much what they push with that. It's just crazy.